is presented by Botano. The game starts now. Here are your hosts, Brent Wallace, Jason York, and Bobby Ryan.
Happy Monday, everybody. Brent Wallace alongside the smartest man in hockey, Bobby Ryan, and Jason York.
Yorkie right out of the gate.
Bob, did you throw in a last minute audible in the bets? I think you took Minnesota, eh?
He did. He took Minnesota.
Yeah.
You guys have equal records now.
And he didn't even want to. He just did it because we all had the same. Because Wally will never change his picks. So, Bob, you took one for the team. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I kind of took that one. I was gonna text you guys that I felt like I took that one on the chin just for something to pile some ratings in on the show and say we still dislike the Sens, but
no, you know,
I did
Nobody
not want
forced you to make a pick. I'm telling you.
No, I know, but you gotta stand out from the crowd at some point here, and I thought I would go against the grain, and it cost me.
Well, standing out means I'm 11-2. Okay,
pretty impressive.
I know. There's nothing. Like I said, it's easy to bet when nothing's on the line. Like,
yeah.
Hey, I bet when there's plenty on the line. I'm still upset that Claude Giroux didn't get 2 assists in the last game. Gentlemen, just to let you know, whoever is employee of the month now gets a free watch, just like player of the game in Sweden. So we'll send you a Casio calculator watch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The old consumer.
I'm on board with that.
I'd like to see you. All right, I'm going to find one and get you to wear it.
Wally, do you remember the old Consumers Distributing catalog?
Love that. All the toys.
Oh, this is the time of year too when you would get in there and pick out what you wanted.
Your little pencil and your piece of paper. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Bobby has no idea what we're talking about.
No clue.
I know. No.
And probably a lot of people who are watching this show have no idea either. But we'll move on.
You'd be surprised.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I might be. This show, I'm just going to get through some of this right now so that we can get on to it. There's lots to chat about. So this show is always brought to you by BEI. Sorry. I want to give that to Bob. Yeah, no, sorry, Bob. Bob, I apologize. We'll do Botano first. Then you can have BEI. As always, Botano, the 2023 EGR award winner for both the best sports book operator of the year and best in-play sports operator. Visit Botano.ca or download their award-winning app, the fastest, most user-friendly, and advanced betting app for your mobile or tablet. Hundreds of betting options for all things hockey and nearly every other sport on the planet. Live in-game betting and the most competitive odds in the market. Botano, the game starts now. And we'll do BEI if it's available. There you go.
I got it. All right. Well, this show is built by BEI, heavy civil general contractor in both the public and private sectors. You can contact Bonisher Excavating for a number of things: equipment rentals, aggregate and topsoil sales, hauling and floating. They're moving stuff, hot mix paving, commercial, public, and residential, as well as concrete formwork. You can visit BonisherExcavating.com or give them a call at 613-432-1120. BEI, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. And as always, for our friends that are doing the work, please slow down in construction zones.
Nice job. All right. So the Sens return home from Sweden. The best team to play outside of Europe in NHL history. They currently sit 5-0-1 in their 3 trips to Sweden. Back-to-back OT wins for a team that hadn't gone to OT. Lots of excitement. They got the Brandstrom Forsberg goal. You've got the Tim Stützle goal of the year. You got Alfie on the bench. We will talk more about Alfie tomorrow, but I will just ask first your thoughts on, we said before going that this trip was ultimately important. They went in at 6-7. They're now at 8-7 on the season. Bob, I'm going to start with you. Did anything stand out to you from the norm?
No, I think the players that needed to show up showed up for the most part. I thought that no, nothing outside the norm, I guess. I just think that they, outside of a period, which I think they would like the second period against Detroit back. I thought they played pretty good hockey, even though it's 2, what we call those home games.
Yeah.
The only team that lost 2 over there, by the way. We should talk about that at some point. I don't get that. But no, I thought they played. Those games always feel gimmicky when you're over there. Yorkie can tell you you're running around, you're doing stuff all week, and then you get to the game and you're like, you know what? At the end of this day, there's still 2 points on the line, and you kind of forget that because you get swept up in everything else. And they went about their business. Had one real bad period, but otherwise played pretty They played good enough hockey to come away with 4 points. That's the big takeaway. And they needed all 4 points.
Yeah, the big thing for me is they finally won a game with the style of hockey you need to play, especially if you're going to be a playoff team. And that was that game against Minnesota. They really cleaned up their D zone coverage in that game. And I know Minnesota's been struggling too, but that was a desperate hockey team they played. And Minnesota just tried to outweight them, stay patient. And I'll look at a guy like Tim Stützle, for example. He played over 25 minutes in that Minnesota game. He didn't get a point, but my big takeaway from that game, that's 25 minutes where he's on the ice, where I thought he was pretty good defensively. And this is the thing with Stützle. He is I'll do a thanks tips here. He's a great offensive player, but he's still learning the game in his own zone. He's still learning how to, he's still going to make mistakes. We saw in the Detroit game, sometimes you lose coverage, you overtrack, but that's a good sign. Young players starting to learn how to figure it out, how to win close games like that, because earlier on when things weren't going their way, they were making mistakes and they were beating themselves. Bob, sometimes you're not going to have your best stuff. Sometimes you're going to be in a 1-1 game. And the key is don't beat yourself.
Yeah.
And they finally figured out in a close game not to beat themselves and took it to a shootout. And Forsberg needed a game too, fellas. He really needed a game. And how good is that for him in his country? Gets an apple too on the one goal. Like that quick up play to Brandstrom was fantastic. So for me, win the close game. Forsberg has a great bounce back in his home country, so lots of good. And I'll say this about Matthew Joseph, just continues to prove that this just isn't a fluke and a hot start. Like, he is continuing to be one of Ottawa's most important players.
And I want to get to Matthew Joseph at some point here, if not today, tomorrow. I do have some notes about Matthew Joseph that I think I'd like to touch on. And yes, but we also, like, just so we're clear, when everybody was talking about trading Matthew Joseph, or at least we were at the beginning of the summer, or to fit under the cap, it was the best financial decision. It had nothing to do for me with his play. We saw when he showed up in Ottawa, I think his first 13 games, he was a point per game player, right on the first line. He looked really good. So I don't know, we were all trying to dump on Matthew Joseph at the beginning, and I just thought it was a financial decision over his play. It just made the most sense.
Yeah, well,
yeah. Sorry, Yerky. It still might when you look at it, and that's not a slight. That's actually, he's played himself into the do not trade discussion right now, but he's also talking him at the same time he's doing it. You're putting him more into more of, we don't have to sweeten the pot. What can we get for him now, right? So there's two sides to it, and that's
get me back my first.
Yeah, you know what? I'm lucky I don't have to be part of that decision, because I don't know. I would not want to be in that room trying to figure out who's going right now, because I like this lineup a lot.
Yeah. And so, but here's the one thing, and only if Shane Pinto does this, and that is if he accepts the league minimum, or anything around $1 million, whatever that is, prorated to get through this season, then the cap goes up and it may save everybody's job. Plus, like, Tarasenko's on a 1 year, and Kubalik's on a 1 year, right? So then all that financial stuff will work itself out. But we'll get to that later.
It's going to be a pretty easy thing with negotiation with Shane Pinto, fellows.
Well,
it's going to be, you know what? I'll take the whatever it is. Just get me back. Let's get playing. Let's get this whole thing behind me. Finish the season off, probably sign a 1 year deal. The Sens will probably try and get him on a multi-year deal at a really cheap rate, because that's what I would try and do. Try and do it now while you have all the leverage, right? So yeah, we'll see. Time will tell.
But it is an interesting discussion, but we've got plenty more before we get to that one. So, and you brought up Anton Forsberg, so I want to get to Wendy's now, and the did you know, because some people may not know some of the things about Anton Forsberg and what he accomplished over in Sweden. So, don't forget the Wendy's Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. Wendy's is letting you win real food with your fantasy teams this year with the Wendy's Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. Weekly prizes. Download the Wendy's app and score yourself 150 bonus reward points on your first order, and grab a sweet victory from the mouth-watering jaws of defeat, along with some fresh, never frozen beef. Put your prediction skills to the test and score yourself 1,300 bonus points if you win the week. I've yet to get past day 2. Use your points and grab your favorite menu items at Wendy's. Sign up now, Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool at dailyfaceoff.com. And try things like the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's and the Wendy's app. Wendy's, keep it fresh. All right, did you know? So did you know about Anton Forsberg? A lot of you probably heard some things, but first Swedish-born goalie to get an NHL win in Sweden. That's in 16 games. First goalie born outside North America to earn an assist in an NHL regular season game in his home country. With the assist mark, just the 7th time in Sens history that 2 goalies have earned an assist in the same season, because Korpisalo already has one this year. And by the way, the record for most assists by a goalie in a season by the Ottawa Senators is Craig Anderson, who has 4. He also has the all-time assist record at 11 assists, just so you know. So there, Anton Forsberg, did you know? He did play really well. And I will say, you guys are trained not to show a lot of emotion a lot of the time. I really liked when Eric Brandstrom scored the goal, comes back to Forsberg, and you can feel the smile and the joy that they have in their faces on that particular. That's a favorite moment for me.
Well, two guys that have gone through a ton of adversity this year, right?
Yes.
Forsberg wanted to get off to a great start. His numbers were awful. You're in a 2-man tandem or battle for playing minutes, so important for him, and doing it at home. And Brandstrom, that was an awful setback he had with that concussion. That wasn't just a minor concussion. So two really good feel-good stories there, and doing it at home. So yeah, it was really nice to see. And what a play that was too. That's a change play you work on all the time. And I remember I watched the replay on it. It was almost like it was an inadvertent pick that Ottawa's players did as they were coming. They all skated in front of Minnesota's bench, and the Minnesota players had a really tough time getting across the ice. That's why it worked so well. But it's very rare that a defenseman's the guy getting this stretch pass, because he usually tips it up to a forward. But that's just a really heady play by both Brandstrom and Forsberg. But how about this clap bomb too? I never knew Brandstrom could shoot. I never knew he could shoot the puck this hard, Bob. Like, that was an absolute bomb.
He's got a bomb. He just never really gets it off the way he wants to. But I remember when he came and I was standing in front and he was just kind of shooting, floating him in from the point. And I was like, oh, this is different. Like, you can feel guys that shoot the puck heavy, if you know what I mean, when you're down there tipping. And every time I would tip a puck from him, I'd be like, man, this thing is just a heavier shot. He's got kind of a long stick for a short guy, so he's got a lot of torque into that the shaft of his stick. So yes, he shoots the puck incredibly well. I remember, don't you guys probably remember when he was coming up the clips that were coming out of Vegas through preseason and stuff? Like, all of his shots were just picking corners and heavy beating goalies to the over the glove stuff. So yeah, he can shoot it, but it was a very heady play by both guys. It was
and those are the types of plays that 5'6" defensemen don't do.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a puck moving top 4 offensive defenseman that's very cerebral.
You're talking about the pass, right? By Forsberg.
Well, both. I'll keep saying this about Brandstrom. This guy needs to play on a team, an up-and-coming team, where he's playing 20 minutes a night. He's in the top 4, and he's playing on a power play. He is and kudos to him, because he's got enough hockey sense, because smart players can adapt, and he can penalty kill, because penalty kill is all about anticipating where's the puck going to go. Smart players can penalty kill. You just gotta bear down and block shots and get in lanes. It's actually easier than being an offensive guy, because if you're a smart offensive guy, you kind of know what the power play is trying to do, and you make reads. You go to where you think pucks are going. But for him in his career, he needs to play on a different team. He really does. Like,
I will say this. You know what he reminds me of, and it was the first name that comes to mind, is Shane Gostisbehere. Just that very skilled, very offensive, puck moving guy that's not overly big. And Shane has played. I know he's struggled down the stretch a couple of years ago, but he played exceptional, I thought, when he was in Philadelphia. So but I went to Eric Brandstrom's first practice in Belleville when he was traded to Ottawa. He is exceptionally talented with his hands.
Here's the thing, Wally.
Very good.
even with Thomas Chabot injured, he still can't get a sniff on the power play. Think about that for a sec.
Yeah.
Well, and the power play struggling, right? It's now dropped
Yeah.
to 17th, 18th in the league.
But it's not because they're just going through a dry spell right now. It's the problem is there's too many puck moving D on this team, which people will say is a good problem. But I'm just and people don't get this the wrong way. I'm not saying Brandstrom's a bad player, and I'm just saying for the player and his career, and to maximize his skill, his talents would be far better used on a team that could use his skill set more often of what he does.
Yeah,
I agree without question. So, which leads me, I want to come back to Tim Stützle. This is a goal and a play that I wanted to revisit because after it just happened so quickly after our last show, there wasn't enough time to dissect it. But that partly leads into our DoorDash hot performer of the day, Yorkie. So it'll help tie things together nicely. This show, as always, delivered by DoorDash. Did you know there's 30-some shopping days left till Christmas? Make gift shopping fun again with DoorDash. Shop for everyone on your list with items like gift cards, cosmetics, sleep masks, all kinds of things, even last-minute findings with DoorDash. With restaurants, groceries, pharmacies, bakeries, flower shops, and more, DoorDash really has everything you need to make the holiday special. Ordering is easy. Just open the DoorDash app and choose what you want from where you want. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off with zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code NATION25. That's 25% off, $10 value, zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code NATION25. Don't forget, code NATION25, 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms apply. And Yorkie, here is your hot performer.
Well, surprise, surprise, it's Tim Stützle, who's the hot performer. Without a doubt, that was the most important goal to date of the Ottawa Senators season. If you lose that game against Detroit after being up 4-0, shit's going to hit the fan. And who knows what happens in the Minnesota. Just imagine, Bob, you go to the dressing room after blowing that lead, you lose it. How dejected are you going to feel as a group? They're going to be fingers pointing. The mood's going to be totally different. Instead, you get Stützle, who scores the best goal of the season. Everybody was talking about the walk-off home run, comparing him to Joey Bats. So that thing could have saved a few coaches' jobs. Was it to that point yet? I don't know. That second period was pretty bad, but it's amazing. One goal makes everything go away. And then I like how he backed it up in the next game. Another game where he played over 25 minutes and was a rock defensively. It wasn't perfect, but still +1, 25 minutes. He basically played an entire game when he was over there in 2 games, 25, just over 50 minutes of ice time in 2 games. They leaned on him heavily and just made the trip. He made the trip by scoring that goal. And let's not forget, Bob, too, that was a hell of a play by Drake Batherson on that goal. I watched that replay a couple times. A lot of guys just would have shot it. If you notice what Drake did, he did a little deke over to the forehand. Sure, it went off the stick. It wasn't perfect. But if Drake doesn't buy that time and space, that play doesn't happen.
Yeah, it gets snuffed out a little quicker if he doesn't do that. But back to Timmy, I think it's like, I love when people are like, we haven't even seen the best of him yet. He's on pace for 100 and something points. Like, I don't know what you
know what the problem is, Bob?
He's so good. I think that's the problem.
But the problem is people want to see him score 3 goals or expect 3 goals a night. So the expectations are so high that for him just to have, like when we saw the Minnesota game, he didn't score. And we're like, oh God, like what did he do? But he was very good. So that I think has become the problem with being so good is we expect multiple point nights every night.
Bob, how you
Carlson thing, right?
Yeah, Bob, you played on a top line. He's now seeing top matchups every single night. Teams are game planning for him. They're like, how tough is that to do what he's doing with the matchups he's seeing?
Unbelievably tough. And they had, I'm very interested to see, because his stats are going to be his stats. They're going to be he's going to be over a point per game, and knock on wood, he'll always be over a point per game. I'm more interested to see how he does on the road against the teams that are bigger and a little bit higher in the lineup. But he continues to find ways. He's going to get every chance, right? At 25 minutes, just because DJ's seeing something right now that says I can trust him in all facets of the game. Which is another step in his development that people are probably like, well, it doesn't matter because we want him going north. But you have to remember that guys like Andrzej Kopitar, things like that, like players like that, they could always score and some had to learn the other end of the rink. And he's now learning that. And that makes him even more dangerous and gives him more opportunity going forward. So great pick for Hot because obviously that goal was great. Drake made a great play, but he saved the season. And I think he saved a couple jobs at the same time. So he's just, I would love to tamper the offensive expectations and continue to see him do more of the Minnesota stuff.
Yeah, we were like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough getting 90 points this year. The kid's on pace for like 115. You know what's impressive about that tape job on his stick? That puck it's like he's got some of that fly paper on his stick. I don't know how he's doing, and like it's been a long time since I've seen someone that plays for Ottawa be able to hold on to the puck like he does and do it at such a high speed. That's what's most impressive. I don't know, Bob. Do you remember a guy that does that kind of stuff?
Nope. Martin Havlat?
He's different. Marty was more, you get him the puck and he's gone. Like he's
one of the best one-on-one guys I ever saw, though, Marty Havlat live.
Yeah, Marty was pretty friggin' good. He was. But Timmy seems like he's...
But Timmy puts the fear into you.
He's kind of like an acrobat on the ice. He reminds me of one of those, I know that's a bad comparison. One of those light dogs that can like jump over this and do that. And it's like, it's just, you think you have him and he's going this way and he's going that way. Sometimes he dekes himself out. Like I don't know. Like I'd love to see his training program in the summer, what he's doing with his trainer.
He's posted some videos, but yeah.
Have you guys seen Quarterback with Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
His trainer was putting him on all in these compromising positions to be able to be athletic while you're off balance and while you're in a vulnerable position. I bet you he's doing a lot of similar stuff because he's out of control, but he's in control. It's really impressive.
Frank McDougall would like to bring up that Timmy must be a German Shepherd.
No, he's like my golden. I took my golden.
Did you miss the point of him being German?
I listed whatever.
I got a couple more questions, so just to back up Tim Stützle, how he's played of late. 15 of his 20 points this season are at even strength. He was held off the score sheet against Minnesota. That's just the fourth time in 15 games this season he failed to register a point. Back-to-back 25-minute games. Yeah, both of them were in overtime, but. So he leads all forwards in the NHL in time on ice per game at 22-20. 197 points for his career, looking to become the 22nd sens player to register 200 points. He's trailing Magnus Arvidsson for that spot. I think he has 204 points or something. So are they playing him? We've had this debate before, and it's brought up again in the chat. Is 25 minutes too much for Tim Stützle?
Yes.
They're not. I don't even think DJ knows there's a fourth line at the moment. I know I'm being facetious, but they're like, I know Zach McEwen had to fight the first fight ever outside in a Global Series game or whatever, but he played like a minute 13 or whatever it was.
Is that all that was?
It was something. Yeah, I'll go back and look, but like they're not even attempting to play that fourth line.
Honestly, they're trying not to get fired too. I mean, like it hasn't been the start. You've got,
but hasn't it calmed down?
It's calmed down, but at the same time, he knows that he coaches in Ottawa, and if they lose 2 games over there or come back and lose to Minnesota, the chatter's coming right back. So he's betting on his horses right now. I have no problem with it, but it is a little too much, and it's not sustainable long term. I would think that most people would agree with that. You're going to get to, I'm just going to go out and say that we did that in Anaheim. We weren't a 4-line team. Myself, Getzlaff, and Perry were averaging a lot of minutes a night. And by the time April rolled around, we were gassed because we were playing so many minutes throughout the season. It's just too much. And Stützle's young. He can absolutely handle 18 to 21. And I think 20 would be the number that I would like to see consistently. But 25 is too much. And I know they're overtime, so you take them with a grain of salt, because if you get all of a sudden you get a minute and 40 shift in overtime, it really adds to it. But he's playing good hockey, and you want to reward him. Like,
I know.
25, it's just too much, Yorkie. That's a big night for a defenseman.
Oh, I'd be exhausted playing 25 minutes. I remember playing 24, but having coached when you're on the bench in all these tight games, I could just picture if I'm in DJ's shoes and I'm looking down the bench and I just see Timmy and he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, because that's what you do when you're on the bench. You're on the bench and you look back at the coach and you're like, and you give him that look and you're like, get out there. It's so like,
what are you doing?
Who you put? I'm gonna butcher the name. Who are you putting on the ice right now?
Rourke Chartier.
You going Rourke, and no disrespect to Rourke. He's playing at the top of his game. I like how he's playing. He's grindy. He's on the PK. He's doing his thing. And you basically have two guys that you don't really know a lot about. I'll tell you though, DJ trusts Rourke though. He puts him in a lot of tough situations, which is good. But you could say, well, it's a long season, but you have to get to the playoffs. And if I look down the bench, it's like Timmy's giving me my best chance every time he's on the ice. So it's a tough situation. I can see this trip though. You got a big break. You're coming back. You got lots of days off. You don't play for a while, and it's an OT game, but it is a lot of minutes. But he's young. He can handle it right now. And this is why the loss of Pinto is so big. If Pinto was here, this again, thanks Tips, this wouldn't be happening.
So Rourke Chartier, by the way, played almost 14 minutes that game. Just to go back to the fourth line, Zach McEwen 330, Roby Jarventi 704, and then Parker Kelly was 848. Just to clear that up. But Tim Stützle has played 9 games at 22 minutes or more out of 16 this season.
Yeah, it's just a little too much.
Sens don't play again until Friday, by the way, and they host the New York Islanders. All right. So, and I know Alfie was on the bench. I want to get to him tomorrow a bit more. Also, Ian Mendes has said he's going to try and hop on the show tomorrow morning as well. But I guess I'm going to have to get to it. Did Alfie bring a vibe to the bench in those 2 games, or was it more ceremonial than anything?
I said it last week before we started that who's back there doesn't make a ton of difference. I do think when a Hall of Famer and a guy that's of Alfie status whispers something into your ear, it rings differently than other coaches, and it's a fresh voice, so players would be excited to hear that. They don't come off the bench, or they don't come off the ice to the bench and think, "Where's Daniel Alfredson?" There's no vibe to that, and that's definitely not a slight. That's just players settle into the game, and that's how that goes. But that being said, I do think when he speaks, there's a certain level of respect that comes from the players because of who is saying it. So to answer your question, yes and no. Like at the same time, it's a little bit of both, and there's no real easy answer there.
But do you get a little bit of, I'll say momentum? I know you're professional hockey players, but is there a little bit of momentum with all the hoopla surrounding Alfie being there, the excitement of having him on the bench, who's very well respected? Here he is dropping the ceremonial puck. Then he just takes the usual walk over to the bench, hops on the bench, and away we go. Like, I'm just wondering if that plays a part more than, and maybe it's for the fans. Hey, it may very well be, because fan-wise, I thought it was great.
So I'll tell you one thing. When you're in a playoff game and all this stuff's happening, your body just senses, and your nervous system kind of wakes you up a little bit. There's more on the line here, and you're subconsciously a little bit more ready for the game. It's just a different vibe. I would say having Alfie there, if you're not, let's just say you're a player where you're maybe not feeling your best, it's one more thing to kind of help wake you up. Hey, we got Alfie here now. Like, Alfie's here. But once you get on the ice, like if you're, let's just say you're Pinto, or sorry, not Pinto, Drake Batherson, you're not, okay, shit, I got the puck now. what would Alfie do in this situation, man? Is Alfie watching me? Damn it, I got to impress Alfie.
Alfie, can you see me?
See you,
Yeah.
Steve. Hi. It's not. But I think he just helps. Like I was saying, he helps let players, because Bob will tell you this. There's a lot of times you just don't feel great. Like you're I don't have my legs tonight. I just think he's just another guy that helps raise the bar, and I think in tough times, having him there helps a lot more than when things are going well. So for sure, the guy's unbeaten. He's 2-0. So you got to give something to that. But he's calming the presence, and he just having him around though. It's obviously a good thing because he's going to add some knowledge. He's going to do some, and he just helps raise the bar, right?
Yeah. All right. The Sens, by the way, 4-1 in their last 5 games. So I won't say everything was contingent on the Sweden trip, but they were certainly. It's building in the right direction. And there are people who are saying, "Hey, listen," and I've seen it in the chat. Like they're not playing great. Everything is not perfect, but don't you just kind of, even as Alfie said after the first game, you just take the win and get the hell out of town.
That's it. It's hard. It's tough. You never want to, and we used to say you never critique a win, right? No matter what that W looks like, it's 2 points that are on your board and not somebody else's. So I understand, but the people in the chat aren't wrong. There's still a lot to dislike about the way that things are going. But they found a way to get 4 points. Now they're back. It's going to take them 4 or 5 days to recover. I remember this trip, and we had the 3 hours on top of that going back to Anaheim. It took me 8 days. Like I was a mess for 4 or 5. So now we can get back to normality. 2 games in the next 10 days. So they got some time to really, really kind of settle in here, and then we can start to figure out where exactly this team stands.
There's so many teams. There's so many teams that play well and find ways to lose. So yeah, they're not playing perfect, but they're finding a way to win. You'll hear this a lot. Your coach will come in after a game. Wasn't perfect, boys, but we found a way to win. Yeah. And when you can start finding ways to win, it's a good sign. I totally agree. A lot to dislike, especially in that first game. I'm more impressed with the second game, a boring, bland hockey game where it was nothing was going on, and you didn't go away and try and. I hate it when players try and. Sometimes you just got to take what the game gives you, and that's generally how Ottawa loses. They don't stay patient. They go away from the game plan and they beat themselves. So to me, that was a good thing.
Last question on Sweden. Well, actually, I want to get to the OT in a sec, but can you guys explain to me? I think so. People are saying James Reimer ducks on the Stützle goal.
He did.
Now, does he duck, or when you're trying to? I know none of us are goalies. Slide forward, and you slide so far that you kind of just force yourself forward to try and brace yourself, if that makes sense. Like he may have ducked, but he also might just be trying to not tear his entire groin apart.
Yeah, he's pretty stretched out there. So
do you know what I mean?
When I watched it for the 5th time, I was like, did he want to make the world-class save with the blocker? Because that's where you think the puck's going to go, not right over your head in that situation, right? Because look at all that net he's got. So he's probably thinking I can stretch my arm out, make that save. But when you do that and you're extended with your leg, your body is going somewhere. So I don't think he means to duck. I think he tried to make a world beater save, and the puck came directly at his head as opposed to where he thought it was going, and that was the other side of the net.
He looked like a 1980s goaltender, really small, really small and tiny.
Stack.
He needed to make a J.S. Jaguar save there, Bob, where you just come out and make yourself big instead of doing the old Chico Rush. Like
I don't get
there
that
was
one.
so much. Yeah, I don't know. I always thought goalies were taught to push out, make yourself big. I guess Optimus Rhymes plays a different style.
He just sees the game his way, man.
If he was J.S. Jaguar, he would be 3 times the size.
Did you play with Jiggy?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Is he there when he was? What a beauty, eh?
Yeah,
one of my favorites. Yeah.
Me too.
I covered him in Halifax when he played for the Halifax Mooseheads.
Oh no! What? Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, he's really. Did you know? Is he doing anything? Is he doing TV?
I have no clue.
I've seen him somewhere recently. I feel like
It's been a long time.
Let's get to the overtime, but before that, coming in hot is Happily Quenched by Sober Carpenter. Real craft beer, no alcohol. Hold the alcohol, keep the flavor, only 55, 60 calories per can. Enjoy a range of non-alcoholic beers. So good, you won't have to compromise on taste. It's also, if you want a healthier lifestyle, enjoy a wide selection of beers, including Blonde Ale, West Coast IPA, and Irish Red. Look for it at Sobeys, Loblaws, Whole Foods, Metro, Farm Boy, and other retailers. You know what? Yorkie's probably tell me I can only mention Farm Boy. Order online at sobercarpenter.com. Get 10% off when you sign up for their newsletter. Right now, order 2 cases, get 15% off and free delivery. Sober Carpenter, award-winning beer is so good you'll forget it's non-alcoholic. And by our newest friends, Michelangelo's Roofing and Insulation. Owners Mark and Nick, huge supporters of men's mental health, and they want to continue to help raise awareness. So there's about 11 days left. So this month, Michelangelo's will donate a portion of the proceeds from the insulation jobs booked this November to the Movember movement. Jobs can be completed anytime before October 31st, 2024, but just have to book them in this month of November. Included with the booking is an assessment of your home's ventilation system to ensure with new insulation, your home is warm and cozy this winter season, as well as keep the heating costs down and making your home more energy efficient. Did you know improper attic ventilation can affect the health of your home and the people who live there? Michelangelo's. Contact them today at michelangelos.com or use the telephone 613-833-0001. Give them a call. Ask them for a quote. Michelangelo's Roofing and Insulation. Every detail covered. All right. That overtime. So we just had a meeting like a week ago, the general managers meeting, and said, I think we should discuss perhaps rule changes to OT maybe. And then they played that game, and I'm like, let's change the overtime. Yorkie, would you change that? It was boring as hell.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to be careful every time you change something. Every time you tinker, it's like there's always some little trickle down effect that happens. But I do agree. Like it was like they were waiting for the shootout. I've heard some of the things they're talking about. You're not being allowed to keep regrouping back in the neutral zone. How do you fix that? I know there's a couple good ideas. I don't know. Do you go down to 2 skaters? That's pretty radical. You imagine that? You imagine that 2 guys, 2-on-2 full ice.
You bring the nets into center like you guys do in practice.
Play small ice.
Small area game.
I don't know. Yeah. It was so good when they first brought OT in. Like every game was fantastic. Like, let's make this longer. Forget about the shootout. And they were like, maybe the shootout's not that bad. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of tinkering to try and just keep things fast flowing and keep those chances coming back and forth.
I would agree with that. I don't like the idea of a shot clock, which I heard.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that maybe once you got all 3 skaters inside the blue line, you have to stay inside the blue line. I kind of like that rule because it forces you to, it just gives you one less out, right? Oh, I don't like the way things look, so I'm going to take this back to the blue line. We're all going to regroup, and then the guys are going to stand there, and we're going to have 3 guys above them. It just doesn't work. So I could see that. And then the rule is that if you come out with possession of the puck, I would be okay with the fact that maybe you're never going to be able to just get players to dump it into the corner to change possession. But maybe a double whistle would say, like, you blow the whistle twice in succession very quickly. It means put the puck down to the other end and just switch possession. Interesting. Gives everybody a chance to get back above the puck and regroup, and it gives the play and you gain possession. So that was something that I thought about. And the other thing was just take all the lines out. Have a guy cherry pick. You want 3-on-3, have it for the chances. But they won't. I mean, half the guys cherry pick anyway. But
you're going to have some defensive coach go, we are not going to give up. We're not going to beat ourselves. So everybody's going to play defense before we even consider the offense. The only way you're going to fix this for me, because it's going to come down to coaching, right? It's whatever the coaches want. You've got to put in a point system, whether that's the 3 points for the win and 2 points for the overtime win, 1 point shootout, whatever it is, you've got to fix it through a point system.
Maybe how do you do it where instead of because it's pretty tough to keep it inside the blue line, right? Maybe you say once you have possession, you're not allowed to come back past the red line. like cut the ice in half, because you'll see guys go all the way back and slow it right down to
Oh
their
my
own
God.
zone. So
Then they
so
make
maybe,
a line change.
but maybe if you use the red line instead, but then how do you say, well, what's the penalty? Do you just, because the thing you don't want whistles. You don't want, if they don't touch up to the red line, they have to whistle. Let's stop things. So that's the thing. That's the gotcha. How do you do it so there's no whistles?
There's no incentive, Yorkie, to win in overtime as opposed to win in a shootout. So you don't gamble in the OT.
It is.
That's all.
It
It's a
is.
great
It
point.
is. Yeah, it is. People don't realize too, like playing 3-on-3 it's really tough. Like guys are making it look easy. Like they can keep the puck and hold on to it. Like it's I just think the guys have just become such great skaters, and not being allowed to hook, hold, and all that stuff is just allowing guys to possess the puck more. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is, because I don't want whistles. I don't want a whistle to say, all right, stop it. You regroup, the other team gets it.
Yeah. No, whistles would just slow everything down and make it. It's supposed to be the most exciting part of the game, where teams are trading chances with everything on the line, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I like and I do agree with Wally's point about the defensive coach saying we're not going to give up anything because there's no incentive. But I do think if you take out the lines and stretch everything out, it will help with those long 2-on-1s and things like that, odd man chances. So that's what people want to see. And I do too. I like to shoot out when I was there because I was in it, and it felt like it was something that that I just like the pressure of being in a shootout when you're the guy shooting. I understand when you're on the bench, it's boring, but I always enjoyed that pressure. But I'd rather see games end 3-on-3 than 5 than a 3-guy shootout for sure. So take all the lines out and just have the.
That's a good idea.
Or just, you know what, do 7 pass 2-on-1. Somebody scores, Yorkie.
It sounds like, just do it. Turn it into one of those games you do at the end of the practice when you have no idea what the rules are. All right, we're going to have a guy here. You got to have 2 passes. You got to have your stick upside down and turn the net around backwards. And you're not allowed to change on the fly. Okay, go. And remember those games, Bob? You're like, what are the rules here? Oh yeah, I got to do
no
this.
Clue.
Yeah.
You're pass it to a coach because they're bored and they want to get involved.
Bob, I want to know what it's like to because not everybody can, even offensively gifted players can't do shootouts, because I think the pressure may get to them. So what's it like standing at center ice when everybody in the building is focused on watching? Is it any different than any other time?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it feels different. You're out there. And to your point about some really skilled players being bad at shootouts, like Clark MacArthur was maybe the worst I've seen. Mike Hoffman was horrible at just shootouts. I think that some people that are very offensively gifted are given too much time in a shootout, and they get inside their head about what the right thing to do is, whether you're shooting, whether you're making a move. For me, I always had 3 things in mind when I went down. Was I going backhand, forehand, or shooting? And I would dictate that usually by the blue line, based on where the goalie was standing and other goals that were scored against them that I've watched. But it's a much different feeling. You feel like it's you against the world out there on that shot, right? And really, it's just you against one other guy. And if you beat him 30% of the time, you're in the top 10% of the league. So the advantage is really to the goalie, and I just like trying to beat those odds. But it's very isolating, but I enjoy that. It was a lot of fun.
Is it like, I'm not sure if it's the top thing to think of, but did you thrive on, and you obviously thrived on it. You have one of the best shootout records, I think, in Sens history. Did you thrive under that? Was it just something that really invigorated you?
Just something that really invigorated me. I absolutely enjoyed it. And I think it was the run where I wasn't real great down the stretch, where Hammond was absolutely phenomenal for us, and Stoner was coming alive. We got to a lot of shootouts in that place, and I wasn't playing my best offensively, but it was something that you're like, listen, there's a second point on the line, and it can come down to you. I'm thinking of the Ray Emery one in particular against Philadelphia, where I was like, it was not a good game for me, but I knew going into the shootout, and I hadn't played much down the stretch. I was like, this is a way that you can elevate your team. And I scored. And it was mostly because Ray made a business decision, because we played together, and he's like, I'm not getting put in the corner with a deke. So he basically just said, come down and shoot 5. Like that. I knew I was shooting 5-hole before I touched the puck, because I could see him down there going, I'm not moving. So
really,
you see me score, and you see just Razor like he did like one of those things where he tried to put the pads together last minute, but he was like, we played together. He knew that I was capable of going left or right. And he's like, I'm not getting on the wrong side of this. So shoot 5-hole if you're going to beat me. So,
Bob, your 3 moves, you're going top glove, you're going 5-hole, or were you pulling to your backhand? Were those your 3?
So I did score a few high glove. And those were after a deke, but I would deke from a little further out than most guys. Guys like to get in tight and make a couple moves and pick a side. I like to have my moves set and the fake shot starting a little earlier. So if I would get my 3 moves were shooting 5-hole, shooting low glove, which I had quite a bit of low glove above the butterfly. And then I could pull to the backhand if I had to, which I did less of than anything else. But I really like to beat goalies on the glove side or 5-hole more so.
Yeah. When you pull to your backhand, would you sell shot first and then pull?
You always have to sell shot no matter what you're going to do. Like you have to, you can sell shot and freeze a goalie and you got him beat before he's dead to rights before you even pull. And for me, my feet weren't great. So I had such a long stick, right? That goalies hated me. Andy hated me when we would do stuff like that. Cause he's like, you pull it, it feels like 10 feet, right? As opposed to guys coming in and just going fake shot backhand and just trying to beat them to the post. Like I was able to beat goalies to the post with my stick all the time.
Did you extend your stick? Did you have a longer stick?
Nope. No, same as always. Just right up against the cuff of being legal.
Yeah. Because Chera had, because he was so tall, obviously he had to get a rule done, didn't he, Wally? Like
yeah, had a special permission. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm assuming Tyler Myers might be the same, or I'm trying to think who's in Winnipeg right now. But anyway, there's some guys that are.
Logan Stanley. He's a big dude. I was down in my basement last night. I don't know why I was down there pretending to work out and watching Sunday Night Football, thinking about a workout. Started looking at are you guys stick collectors? Do you guys ever, Bob, you ever do it?
No.
Wally?
I have like 7.
Yeah. I got some pretty cool ones down there. And still the coolest stick is Chera's, because the thing is so friggin' stiff. Like you could use it. You could actually take Chera's stick and bolt it into your ceiling and use it as a pull-up rack, because that thing's going to support an elephant. I think it's at least a 150 flex. Like the thing's nuts.
I've been on the receiving end of a few of his cross checks in front of the net. And he's just got a piece of plywood. I mean, it's like
you're getting no. Well, obviously he's a stronger guy, but you're getting no flex in your shot because the thing is so stiff.
Ridiculous.
This is a dumb question, obviously. Did he intimidate you? Like when he's on the ice, he's there. Obviously, you can't not see him. But if you're going into the corner, are you bailing out a little sooner?
No, you're trying to get out of there sooner with the puck, because if you have your feet moving, you have a chance. He's the only D that I knew that I could beat with just chipping the puck past and skating into it. Like I did in that Boston series. I did it 10 to 12 times where I'm like, he's not allowed to touch me if I get rid of this puck and skate into it. But if you're going into the corner and you're matched up with him and you're on the same page, just hope that you win the race to at least move the puck one direction and then let them wrap you up, because you're going nowhere. You're going nowhere. And he's so strong that he can do it with one arm. But for me, like I always knew going in, if I had a step on him, the first step I made was left or right. It wasn't trying to deaden the puck. I didn't care if the puck even came with me. I just knew I was keeping something moving, because he struggled with that as he got older, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I found smaller guys too. I don't know how we got on Chera, but I found smaller, like zippy guys used to kind of skate it as triangle and try and skate at the stick and then slide it under and like make him, like you said, make him turn, right?
Yep.
Yorkie, we got on Chara because you brought it up, just so we're clear.
Oh, sorry about that.
I want to quickly ask, if you are in Columbus right now, and I know we've touched on Columbus before, but they scratched Patrick Laine last night.
Oh.
So, and they're the last in the East. They're a mess. I think they have 4 wins. What if you're a player? Like, what are you thinking right now? And I know, Bobby, I know you've joked in the past, like I want out, but how do you just bail on this year already?
No, I mean everybody's got different reasons to play, truthfully, and most of them at this point are already financially motivated. The only if I'm Fantilli, I'm going 6 more years. That's about it. If I'm him, I'm like, oh, in 2 years I hold all the cards, but still RFA. No, I understand the thought process that maybe they're just like, how do we give up this season? But no, they'll come to the your coaching staff's not going to give up because they all want to continue to keep their jobs. Your players with 1-year deals weren't going to show up. They want their jobs. There's always reasons to play. So they'll continue to come to the rink. It just gets harder and harder.
Like they have the wrong people on that roster. And I think that's the problem.
They have the wrong people everywhere.
Oh, maybe.
You can't cheat the game in 2023. You get exposed.
You'll get way too exposed. Yeah.
Like I watched Columbus play last year, and they had so many guys cheating, like just not playing the right way. You can't do it anymore. And I'm looking at Line A too. He hasn't. The last time he scored 30, which should be an attainable number for him, Bob, as a goal scorer, was back. Oh, it was like 2017, 18. He hasn't been healthy for a long time. So I don't know if it's health issues, but every time I watch him, he doesn't seem to be the type of guy that is going to. There's certain guys that will do everything in their power to beat you, and he just doesn't strike me as that type of guy. And is it injuries? I don't know. I'm not there, but there's too many guys on that team that it just seems, when the puck's dropped and the guy's going to fight you to the bitter end. They don't have enough guys like that. Like culture.
None. Jenner, maybe, but yeah.
Jenner's one, but there's not enough. Like, there's not enough. I'll use an example, like a Brady Tkachuk, for when you play against Brady, you know that you're going into a street fight.
Yeah.
So
Patrick Laine hasn't scored.
Sorry, go ahead. It just feels like they have too many guys that went there saying I can collect a paycheck and hide here.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And so Laine hasn't scored 30 since 2018-19.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. No, that's right. He had 28 in 19-20, but he doesn't look to be the same type of player. So 8.7 million, and he's a healthy scratch.
Wally, if you look at the best players in the game right now, and Bob, you named Kopitar earlier. Look at Ovi right now, for example. I know he's playing better, but you can't be a one-dimensional player in the game anymore. Like Laine's, when he was scoring, he was a shooter. But you got to be a 200-foot player now, or you can't play.
Yeah. Did we misjudge Vancouver, by the way? As they sit 3 players, all with 28 points at the top of the league scoring, in Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, JT Miller. Quinn Hughes has 20 points in his last 10 games.
It's unbelievable.
Did we misjudge them?
I still think they'll come back down to earth a little bit. Those points and that kind of level is going to drop off. I do think they're a better team than we gave them credit for, and that's the Tocchet effect too. Obviously, I think you start to change whether or not you think they're a playoff team, for sure. But they will have a regression at some point, and they will come back down to earth a little bit. They do. They look pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
The highest scoring team in the league.
Yeah,
they have a plus 30 goal differential.
It's unbelievable right now, but I do think it'll come down to it'll come back down to earth a little.
Thatcher Demko has a .926 save percentage right now.
Yes.
That's pretty damn good.
And that's why I wonder. We always say, if you want to show me a good team, I'll show you a good goalie.
Yeah, and Talk's not letting them cheat.
Yeah,
that's the thing. He won't let you cheat.
He won't let you cheat. He won't let you cheat the game.
All right, quickly before we go, last thing. Botano's game tonight. The New York Rangers are in Dallas, which has to be a marquee matchup. Dallas, the favorites, but who do you take in that game? The Rangers are 7-1-1 on the road.
I didn't realize that. That's a good stat. Dallas is favored at home.
And Dallas is only 4-3 at home, I think they are.
Yeah, I'm going with 7-1-1 is hard to argue with. I'm going with them. Taking the Rangers.
They look really good right now.
Just for a lock of the day? Are we doing this?
We can make it an official lock of the day if you want, but I didn't bring it up earlier, so you didn't have time to prep.
Well, thank you. I think we all know I wasn't going to prep.
Well, I was trying to give you the out.
I'll take the Rangers. Lock it in.
Okay.
We're betting on
York?
this. This is for
Sure. Yeah.
the Stars
The
are at
Rangers are
home.
+8. Artemi
You
Panarin's on a different level
Can't
right now. it
just.
seems
We
like.
need to know who's in nets. Is Shesterkin playing? Who's playing nets for Dallas?
Listen.
I'm trying to.
If it's the Rangers against Dallas, how do they not have their number one goalies in goal?
Oh, is it back to back? You don't.
It doesn't matter. You would not play. You would wait, would you not? Like if I'm the Rangers, I'm not. Well, maybe we'll play Shesterkin against whatever. No, you wait for the Ranger game, their Dallas game.
Yeah, I'll take Dallas. If Dallas is at home, I'll take Dallas at home.
Yeah, I think it's a Ranger game. The Rangers are. But are the Rangers one of those teams that are really good in the regular season and they can't still figure it out in the playoffs? Or have they figured it out this year?
Oh, they're still that team.
Their bread man loves the regular season. Lots of peepers, 3-on-3 hockey, hold on to the puck.
Yep.
I'm not a bread man fan. I just cheats the game too much.
I'm not starting that one right now. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking any bait on this, but it's a Rangers game. You can lock it in, and Breadman loves regular season. So I just hope they weren't down at any of the Moxies that's now in Dallas across from the hotel.
How about downtown Dallas? So they've got a good nightlife down there. Like,
ooh, Sleepy City.
DJ Z-Bad could be in one of the place guest DJs spinning some tunes the night before the game. The headset on. It'll be a late one.
I really like Mika Zibanejad's game.
Yeah.
So he should just, we'll never get back to the revisit that trade, but never should have been traded. He's for a 40 goal guy. I think he doesn't get a lot of attention. I find.
It kind of just flies under the radar because there's a couple big names. Excuse me, big names there. So I think he prefers that. He gets to play in a big market, but fly under the radar.
Yeah, like
it's a nice setup.
Unbelievable places to DJ at in downtown New York too. Like, let's be honest here. But Wally, are you honestly going to build your team around Z-Bad? Because if he was still here, you would have to pay him $9 to $10 million. So you're going to build your team around him to win it? I'm not.
782 games, 616 points. He's a +36.
Stats
52 goal scorer. Like, I don't know, Yorkie. Sorry, not a 52 goal scorer, a 41 goal scorer. Yeah. Yes, they're stats, but they tend to see a consistent level of hockey. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight 20 goal seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He's big. He's mobile. I like him in the top line center. Now, if you're going to compare him to Tim Stützle, I don't think that's fair because when they traded him, Tim Stützle didn't exist on the radar. But boy, oh boy, yeah, I like him.
Bob, is Z-Bad going to drag his teammates into the battle and follow me, boys? We're winning this best of 7.
No, that's not. I like all Wally's points, but I know Z-Bad and I know his personality and the way he is. So
great player.
He's a great player, pretty fiery. One of the best centers I've ever gotten to play with. Honestly, I had a lot of chemistry with him.
Yeah.
To become the player he is now, he had to leave Ottawa. That's factual. He needed a coach like Quinn, David Quinn, who was there, that really, really kind of matured him in different ways. So I don't know if he's your one center. I'm very comfortable during the regular season, but I don't know.
Fair enough. 58 playoff games, 16 goals, 47 points, -1 in the playoffs.
There's no doubt he can put up points. None.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You guys are very negative.
Neither one of us picked him on our all-time Sens team, by the way.
That's because I forgot him. and I drafted, because I went very center heavy very early.
You did.
Yeah. Got to build to the middle of the ice.
I took Chris Kelly over him. How about that one?
That's tough.
Yeah, Yorkie, you're just stuck in the early 2000s. That's your problem.
I took Kachuk on my team. Second, I took him I took Alfie and I went Kachuk right after. So I'm not stuck in the early 2000s. Screw you.
Okay, fine. All right, boys, we're back tomorrow morning. I want to talk some Alfie. We've got Matthew Joseph, Sens after 15. Lots of things to discuss as Ottawa doesn't play until Friday when they host the New York Islanders. Ian Mendez is scheduled to join us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We will see you then. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Coming in Hot is brought to you by Botano.ca. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to never miss an episode.